Welcome to Shadows and Screams, where the mundane turns into the macabre. Tonight, we explore 3 bone-chilling true stories set in places where people go to eat and relax, restaurants. In these particular instances, something far more terrifying was on the menu. These true tales will remind you that even the most familiar places can hide the most horrifying secrets. Story 1. The Silent Customer. Our first story takes place at a small family-owned restaurant nestled in a quiet suburban neighborhood. Linda, a waitress who had worked there for years, was familiar with nearly all the regular customers. But one man stood out, an older gentleman who came in every Tuesday evening, always sitting at the corner booth by the window. He was different from the usual patrons, silent, never ordering more than a cup of coffee. He always wore an old, tattered jacket and kept a solemn expression, never engaging with anyone around him. At first, Linda thought nothing of it. After all, quiet customers were common. But one particular evening, the atmosphere changed. It was a particularly cold Tuesday night, and as the clock approached 10 p.m., most of the tables were empty, save for the man at his usual booth. Linda was preparing to close up, but something about his stillness that night unnerved her. He sat perfectly still, staring out the window, his untouched coffee growing cold. As Linda began wiping down the tables, she glanced over at the booth again. The man hadn't moved an inch. When she approached to politely remind him that they were closing, her breath caught in her throat. His skin appeared waxy, his eyes unfocused and glassy, as though he were staring straight through her. Linda leaned in closer, calling out to him softly. But before she could touch him, the man stood up abruptly and walked out without a word, leaving his cold coffee behind. Startled, Linda collected the cup and turned to look out the window to see where the man had gone. But the street was empty. No footprints in the freshly fallen snow, no signs of movement. Curious and deeply unsettled, Linda asked her manager about the man the next day, describing his appearance in detail. Her manager stared at her for a moment before quietly telling her that the man she described had passed away over 5 years ago. He had been a regular before his death, and always sat in that same booth.